we're so glad you're here. We got Field, we got Hawk. He's back from his international tour. More on that later on.
Hawk.
So glad you're back. Sir Hawk.
Happy to be back.
Great to be in your presence. Dan Orlovsky, Dan Graziano, 2 Dans, better than 1. All right, Field, what has you concerned most about the Eagles offense?
Oh, man, let's see if we can get back on track here. Great segment. Sunday morning fantasy football now. It's a great segment. Only Dance.
The Only Dance, yeah.
Great segment. Watch it every
I just assume
Sunday.
everyone already knew.
You've been on that. You've been on it.
No, I'm done.
You have.
You have.
You did.
You
You
just
did
may
a
not
guest
realize
spot,
it. Anyways,
actually,
talk about
last
the
year.
Eagles offense.
Dan.
I've heard Dano talk about the Eagles passing offense. I won't step on the toes there because he's done a lot of insight, or he has a lot of insight on it already. I'm sure we'll dive into it more. A little bit concerning, though, how pedestrian the running game has been for this Philadelphia Eagles offense. You know, passing game can be a little bit more creative in concepts. Sometimes in the running game, it's just do what you do and just do it really well and better than the defense can actually defend it. The offensive line does not look nearly the same this year for Philadelphia. Saquon Barkley hasn't had the same level of production, which I think is more about the offensive line than Saquon. I don't think he's fallen off some cliff. Check out some of these numbers to kind of support how pedestrian the running game has been. Saquon is averaging just 2 yards per rush before contact. He was over 4 yards in that same category a season ago. He has yet to rush for 20 yards on a single play this season. If you go back to last year, he had 11 separate games with a 20-plus yard run. He had 11 games with 100 yards. Hasn't gotten that to any of their first 6 games. Last year, when things maybe weren't going great with A.J. Brown in the passing game, you could at least say, hand the ball off to 26, let him make some magic. Opening drive of the NFC Championship game, the Commanders control the clock. They go down, they get points on the board. Next play, Philadelphia's first offensive play, 60-yard rush from Saquon for a touchdown. That easy out, the smash button just isn't there this year right now in the running game.
Yeah, 47 negative plays for this offense this year that leads the NFL by a significant margin. They got to run it better. I think 2 things I'd like to see in their run game. Number 1 would be, unsurprisingly for me, I'd like to see Jalen Hurts a little bit under center. I'm not saying you have to completely revamp the offense. Yeah. 2, I think a lot of their run game has been a little bit too side to side for me. I'd like to just get Saquon going downhill. I think that would help their offensive line.
Agreed.
Minnesota defensively, the one thing that I've been surprised about them this year is run game defensively. They have not been good. They're bottom 8 in basically everything defensively. And I think the thing that's most surprising is Brian Flores, their defensive coordinator, has always been really good at putting numbers to the line of scrimmage. He's not doing it as much this year. Or some of those run game stunts or pressures that are called on first down that are really good for either run and or play action pass schemes. They haven't been called as much this year. So if there's a game that you would actually feel good if you're feeling like, let's get our run game going, it's this one, coming off of an extended break and against the defense that's not handling the run good.
I thought that would be the Giants game last weekend because the Giants were allowing 140 rush yards per game prior to last Thursday night, and then it was
I just would like to see this run game go at defenses a little bit more than this way too much.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think this offense isn't playing with the amount of trust it needs to be at its best. And that's top down. That's from play caller to quarterback to receivers. There's plays out there that they're leaving because the quarterback isn't anticipating and the receivers aren't finishing. You're going to see a couple of these plays here. This is a 23-yard gain to Dallas guarding the tight end, but look how late that Jalen Hurts sees it.
Over the middle, right?
Right? Over the middle. There's 2 options. It's there now. Throw it. That's when you make this throw. Look how long it takes. Goddard's throwing hands up in the middle. Jalen knows this. He feels this. He has to trust what he's feeling and not waiting to confirm it for so long with his eyes. Next, you're going to get this big play down the middle. This is 2 weeks ago to A.J. Brown. This is a big play that they had to have, and Jalen is locked in on A.J. A.J. clears coverage, and he slows down once he gets past the DB. And where does this ball end up dropping? 3 yards, 4 yards ahead of A.J. Brown. He has to trust that his quarterback is going to see him down the field. And lastly, this is 2 seams down the middle of the field, single high coverage. You know, with that single high safety running to the right, now, you throw this ball now. You have to feel this. You have to know this. This doesn't take you seeing it with your eyes. This is a wide open touchdown to Smith, which these are points that they're leaving on the board. And when you talk about how you feel about this offense, this changes that narrative. This changes the feel in the locker room and in the huddle.
Fantasy football. The 192 players who should be rostered to start 2025 Bijan Robinson, is entering his prime and likely to come off fantasy draft boards in the first few picks. Amber Searles / Emain Images Mike Clay August 7, 2025, 6:03 p.m. Share like open extended reactions like interesting fire 2.8 query closing in on the start of the 2025 NFL regular season, which means it's time for the 192 for fantasy football. Fantasy leagues come in all shapes and sizes, but many have settled into the vicinity of 12 teams and 16 roster spots. The 192 is a listing of the 192 players who should be drafted and thus rostered in such a league with PPR scoring and standard settings. The players are technically listed in the order they should be drafted, though it's important to remember drafts are fluid and your decisions should be altered based on what's left on the board and your previous selections. What if you're in an 8-team league or a 16-teamer? The 192 can still help you win, but you'll certainly need to make tweaks in the middle to late rounds. For example, in a deeper league, you should identify cutoff points at certain positions to ensure you land a viable starter. Perhaps you want to make sure you get one of the top 11 quarterbacks or one of the top 8 tight ends, or you want 2 of the top 22 running backs. In a shallower league, you might want to wait even longer at quarterback or tight end if you're comfortable with 8 to 10 starters at that position. The 192-inch should serve as a simple guide to help you maximize the value of your starting lineup while making the best possible decision in each round. For a deeper look, check out Cheat Sheet Central. Sign up for ESPN Fantasy Football. Play the #1 fantasy game for free. 1. Jamar Chase, CIN, WR12. Bijan Robinson, ATL, RB. 1. Could you make a case for Justin Jefferson, or perhaps a running back like Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey here? Of course, but my preference is to choose one of Chase or Robinson. Whereas Jefferson will be dealing with another QB change, and Barkley and McCaffrey have age and workload concerns, Chase and Robinson are early in their prime and positioned very similarly to how they were during massively productive 2024 seasons. Chase outscored Jefferson, the #2 scoring WR, by 85.5 fantasy points, and, after a slow start, Robinson was fantasy's top scoring RB after Week 5 last season. 3. Justin Jefferson, MIN, WR24. Saquon Barkley, PHI, RB25. Jahmyr Gibbs, DT, RB3. Despite the nitpicking, Jefferson and Barkley are too good to pass on here. Gibbs very well could repeat as fantasy's highest scoring RB, though with interior offensive line questions and the return of David Montgomery, he's best valued a hair lower than Robinson and Barkley. 6. CeeDee Lamb, DAL, WR37. Christian McCaffrey, SF, RB48. Puka Nacua, LAR, WR49. Malik Neighbors, NYG, WR510. Amon-Ra St. Brown, DT, WR611. Ashton Janty, LV, RB512. Devon Achane, MIA, RB6. Let's be honest, it's going to be hard to mess up your first-round pick. There really isn't a big drop-off from our second to third tier, as any of these players could easily pace their respective position in fantasy points. That includes McCaffrey, who is riskier than ever at age 29 off another injury-plagued season, but who has perhaps the highest ceiling at the position, as well as first-round rookie Janny. Brock Bowers will be a popular pick after leading tight ends in fantasy points last season. Andy Lyons / Getty Images Editors picks Clay's Playbook, a game plan for your draft day. Mike Clay. Draft tips for Superflex, Keeper, Dynasty, and other non-traditional formats. Mike Clay Benson. Higgins headline have skills, need opportunity, T. Matt Bowen, and Tristan H. Cockcroft 13. Nico Collins, HOU, WR 714. Brian Thomas Jr., JAC, WR 815. AJ Brown, PHI, WR 916. Drake London, ATL, WR 1017. Jonathan Taylor, IND, RB 718. Josh Jacobs, GB, RB 819. Derrick Henry, BL, RB 920. Brock Bowers, LV, TE 121. Trey McBride, ARI, TE 222. Bucky Irving, TB, RB 1023. Corinne Williams, LAR, RB 1124. Lad McConkey, LAC, WR 1125. T. Higgins, CIN, WR 1226. Tyreek Hill, MIA, WR 1327. Devontae Adams, LAR, WR 14. The bulk of round 2 includes a handful of solid RB1 and WR1 options, as well as top tight ends Bowers and McBride, who figure to battle it out to pace the position in fantasy points this season. There are age concerns for Henry, 31, Adams, 32, and Hill, 31, but all three are well positioned for one more big fantasy campaign. Point 28. Josh Allen, BUF, QB 129. Lamar Jackson, BL, QB 230. Jaden Daniels, was, QB 331. Jalen Hurts, PHI, QB 4. Round 3 is when I'm willing to consider pouncing on a quarterback, simply because the big four of Allen, Jackson, Daniels, and Hurts have a clear edge over the rest of the field. If I miss on any of these four, feel free to order them however you wish. I'm content waiting quite a while before grabbing a passer. Point 32. Chase Brown, CIN, RB 1233. James Cook, BUF, RB 1334. Jackson Smith-Njigba, SEA, WR 1535. Terry McLaurin, was, WR 1636. Garrett Wilson, NY